Good, great evening to you. How does tonight find you? Welcome, welcome. I am Keeley Taverner. I'm really grateful, glad that you guys have all signed up for tonight's overcoming overthinking. One of the reasons why this is a topic is because, well, firstly, I'm passionate about isolating the topics that continuously come up in therapy. Because what I realize is people just don't get it. People need to understand, people need to be able to, once people get it, they get it. And when we begin to take action, our lives can change. So all of my mastermind overcome topics are always about the issues that impact on people that causes them to get stuck. So we're just waiting a few minutes. If you do have any questions, feel free to put that in the chat. We'll be using the chat feature. Hopefully that's there today, or was that on another group? The chat feature. Feel free to use the chat feature. Ask me questions. I tell you, like, I have a treasure trove of knowledge, but if people don't interact, if we don't ask the questions, I can't then kick off. So feel free to ask. You can inbox me. My assistant Claire will be here tonight. Claire will be assisting me with any things that come up as we need to free flow. Claire will also be dealing with what I'm going to be very honest here. One of the issues I have as a psychotherapist, I'm trained to help people at an individual level. However, what is happening more and more so often is there's common problems that continuously come up in therapy. So I'm thinking, hold on, this doesn't seem to be an individual problem. This seems to be that actually lots of people are experiencing this, but because we may feel embarrassed, we may feel that it's only us, people are coming to therapy for one-to-one therapy, but actually as a therapist, I'm seeing that this is actually quite a common problem. So one of the things that I'm passionate about doing is bringing those topics to people to get us to think. But ultimately, it's one of the reasons why I create my courses. In my courses, I have the themes. All my courses are built on the themes that continuously show up in therapy. I'm passionate about bringing people together so you begin to realize it's not a you thing. So many of us are struggling, and we're often struggling alone. So a little bit about me, you may or may not know, my name is Keeley Taverner. I'm 43 years young. I have 2 kids. And when I was 20, I was in a violent relationship, and I kept going back to the relationship. I believed if I loved him enough, cared enough, put the nipple tassels on, and did all the things he wanted me to do, that he would come good. Many of us go above and beyond for others. We give our all, especially in our intimate relationships. And for many people, they don't get back what they deserve or what they'd hope for. That is one of the factors that can drive us into therapy. But before that, it can be the issues that come up in terms of why we become sad and depressed. And so that was my journey. And what I did is I began reading self-help books. So I'm from a working class background, brought up in Northwest London, and I just wanted to be more than a baby mama, pushing the pram on my estate, looking for the next bad boy to try and make him come good. Reading self-help books, Jan Van Sant was where I began, was the kickoff that enabled me to begin to realize you have to take responsibility for yourself. And if you know anything about me, you know I push self-responsibility. Is the ultimate way to have an empowered life. For many people, especially empathic people or highly sensitive people, we give what we most desire and we hope that others will treat us the same way that we treat them, that they will have the same regard. But often what often comes up time and time again in the therapy room is that does not necessarily come back to us. And that can be very difficult, and that can send us into sadness, depression, and people don't quite realize how they get there. So as I said before, tonight's topic is all about overthinking. One of the things about overthinking is it results in us not taking action. Action is fundamental to life if you want to change. So when we tend to overthink, We tell ourselves often, I find, an elaborate story. If you know what I'm talking about, give me a heart or some form of reaction in the chat so I know I'm not alone here. Yeah. We need to be incredibly mindful of the story that you tell yourself in your overthinking. In addition, if you're overthinker, pay attention to whether you have a harsh inner critic. If you know what I'm talking about, give me a heart, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, give me something so I know I'm not alone out here. If you overthink and it's coupled by a harsh inner critic, usually what's going to happen is for whatever solutions that you find or situations you find yourself in, you're going to find that your harsh inner critic will kick off. Now, one of the tips, if you're looking for solutions tonight, my people, is you need to befriend your harsh inner critic. You need to write down on a piece of paper, remember that, pieces of paper, right? Remember the pens, remember them back in the day, right? Write down what the hell it is that you say to yourself. For so many of us, we are particularly unkind and cruel to ourselves in terms of the things that we say to ourselves. It's highly unlikely that you would speak to anybody else in the way that you speak to yourself. The problem with a harsh inner critic is we don't give it sufficient attention. Your harsh inner critic controls your life. If anyone knows what I'm talking about here, please do feel free to give me some form of interaction because I need the interaction. It's very difficult for me not having that kind of human touch, which I often love. So like I said, often overthinking will be coupled with the harsh inner critic. Now, if you think of a seesaw, if you only have a critical voice, if you have a harsh inner critic, firstly, a harsh inner critical voice is an internalized voice from someone external. So firstly, this is why in therapy, we get back into looking at how we were raised and how we were loved by our parents. We're not here to condemn our parents, but we have to look at how we were loved or not loved to understand the development of our harsh inner critic. When we are highly critical of ourselves, there will be no space for compassion and kindness. And for many people who come into my therapy room, this is exactly why I've written the Empath's Self-Protection course. Majority of my clients are highly empathic people. They are highly sensitive souls. Now, if you're a highly sensitive person, give me a heart, give me a like. Now, as you may or may not know, my curls here also represent my cultural diversity. I have a white father and I have a black mother. And one of the things I've worked out for the many years I've been working with lots of very different people is from a cultural perspective, Black women tend to be adverse to their vulnerability. We need to have this conversation. I'm adding it in. It is important for us to accept and embrace our vulnerability, people. If you know what I'm talking about, for many of us, if we try to act strong and hard, we avoid our vulnerability. That is unhelpful to us. We need to accept that we care and that we have feelings and that we become vulnerable. Now, what also happens coupled with our inner critic is that voice. An inner critic is the internalization often of an external voice that was critical. So if this is speaking to somebody, give me a heart, give me a like, give me a wink, then it's highly likely if you have the internal voice, the internal critical voice, that you have internalized that voice. Write down on a piece of paper. You got to have your paperwork here today. Write down whose voice that is likely to be. Whose voice is that? Because in the absence of compassion, there will be critical voices. And we need to identify whose voice you have now internalized in your adult life. When that voice kicks off, we need to develop the compassionate voice. How can you answer yourself in the way that you would answer a stranger or a friend? Highly empathic people, we need to learn to give back to ourselves what we abundantly give to others. So that's another thing. We need to learn to give to ourselves what we abundantly give to others. I know for me, When I was busy trying to make a bad man good, I went above and beyond for that person. Above and beyond. What highly imperfect people we need to learn to do is to go above and beyond for ourselves, to save ourselves, to save our sanity, and to be able to empower ourselves. Now, I know for many people, especially overthinkers, what's going to happen is that's going to make you feel like you're being selfish. People who have benefited from your abundant giving will call you names when the gravy train stops and hits the buffers. My office is here at Uxbridge. It's the last stop on the Metropolitan line. So when you hit the buffers, when you stop giving, they will call you names like selfish. Prepare yourself for that. If I stopped doing what I've done for all the people that called me selfish, when I stopped feeding into them, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Guilt, like I said, is another concept that you embrace. Thank you for that comment there, Michelle. We embrace guilt. We need to embrace guilt, because if you don't embrace guilt, guilt will control your life. You'll end up saying yes when inside you mean no. This is one of the ways we become depressed, because we let guilt control our lives. If you don't let the guilt control you, you have to learn to sit with it. And then you're going to see how people are going to have a massive problem with you. The name calling, and we have to be mindful of this, how you will be sanctioned for non-compliance. Watch out for that, because that will astound you. If you know what anybody know what I'm talking about in terms of the sanctions for non-compliance, give me some love in the comments, because I know I am not alone here. Beautiful. So overthinking results in not doing this. Simple as. And that's a word I made up. Overthinking will result in not taking action, because you will find 101 reasons not to. So ultimately, what happens to people who tend to overthink is they live in the head. When you live in your head, you think you have all the answers. You think you do. The challenge is you've never actioned anything, because it's just conundrums in your head. If you truly want to get over overthinking, action is fundamental to you. But what I'm talking about here in terms of action as a solution to overthinking is I'm very much, depends on your situation. Now, obviously, I don't know your situation here. But one way to take action is to take tiny steps, small actions. Small actions are fundamental, because then you're not overwhelmed. The challenge for many overthinkers is it is also coupled with procrastination. If you've ever done my Pain into Purpose course, or you plan on doing the Empath Self-Protection course, you'll know that it is built upon the principle of taking action in the now. Slowly, slowly, yes, Bali. Nicely, nicely. Of course, Bav, there will be procrastination, because we're so busy in our head, we never take any action. Why don't we take any action? Because fear has you by the ghoulies, ladies and gentlemen. Big up to all the people without the ghoulies, but if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Roll with the analogy. If you live by fear, fear will control your life, so you never do. You don't do, you just think, and the fear controls your life. So you never step. So you will have an idea about what water will taste like. You may describe the water, but you would have never indulged, because you've never tasted it. That's what happens. Talk, talk, talk in the head, but there is never the no action. So you won't know what it tastes like to have a cup of tea, because you won't take the action. And often it's overthinking that causes people to get stuck. Stuck in situations that no longer work for them. And of recently, I've been calling it, you get stuck in your tiny mind. your tiny mind where you think you have to know all the answers. Big up to all my logical thinkers. I'm so desperate to go and get my little chart over there to show you, right? Let me get my little thinking chart here, right? So you overthink it. I have to show many clients this, and it really helps them to make sense of the situation. This is the left brain and the right brain. Overthinkers tend to occupy this space here on the left brain where it's all about being logical. Let's get logical, logical. That's one of my kids who were born in the 80s, right? If you're an 80s baby, you know I'm 70s baby, you know what I'm talking about. Overthinking is based on logic, right? And this is very much related to the Western psychology, which is based on focusing on what you can see. So when we focus on what we can see, you often overthinkers want all your ducks lined up in a row. Don't you? You want all the ducks lined up in a row so you can just flop from one lily pad to the next lily pad and the next lily pad. Don't I see you laughing over there? Well, I'm here to tell you that life doesn't work on your terms. It doesn't work. Life is messy, I'm afraid to tell you. And if you're of the view because you've swallowed whole this whole positive psychology and it's not helpful to look at negative thoughts, that is also another recipe for sadness and depression. We are human beings and we have been designed to experience a whole gamut of emotions. You cannot have joy without sorrow. I'm afraid to tell you, you need to feel sad sometimes. Now, if your sadness becomes prolonged, that's where we need to pay attention to what is going on. Yeah. I remember being told recently, I have a tendency to become depressed. I thought that's a really interesting way to label it. I think, well, I have a tendency to be joyful. What a beautiful way to think about ourselves. We need to be mindful of the names that we call. Those sentences means that we make justifications that, yeah, I am going to be depressed. Well, how come we can't make statements like, I am going to be joyful? It's all in our words. We must pay attention. Anybody interested in that? Topics like NLP will help you to think about your words and the language that you choose. Kurt, I just got a message from Curtie here. Curtie says, that happened to me in the last few months, but when I stopped overthinking, I felt better. Overthinking can be remedied by taking action. The problem, very simple solution, stop overthinking, start doing. The problem, the crux of it, is your relationship with fear. Your relationship with fear, left brain, right brain. Left brain, right brain. These images are all very helpful. I can post this in an email after if you'd like to have a look, right? But when you come from the left brain, it's all logic. And like I said, for many of us in the West, we would love to have all the answers. This is why uncertainty is very difficult for people. In the West, we want to have, we love logic. Life is not based on logic, I'm afraid. Life is not based on logic. But there is a rhythm and a process to life if you can learn to go with the flow. Another principle. Can you walk by faith? We get spiritual principles. Spiritual principles is one of the reasons I work in private practice, because in some of the government roles I've had, spirituality has been taken out of everything. And actually, it's incredibly unhelpful because spirituality is a very helpful resource to help people to understand their situation. Because when you don't have the answers, and that's the problem for overthinkers. Overthinkers want all the answers. Life doesn't work on your terms. How can you embrace uncertainty? Any questions, any comments, please put them in the chat. I'm happy to respond to you. Life doesn't work on your terms. So how can the power, if you truly want to live a good life, how can you embrace uncertainty? And one way we can do that is to take a tiny action, tiny, small actions, not so you become overwhelmed, but tiny, small actions. And learn to sit with the uncomfortableness of focusing on yourself. So if you find yourself in a situation where you feel overwhelmed, unclear about the way forward, you can inbox me privately, but feel free to ask questions here, because then you give me the opportunity to give you a live and direct answer, which is where I'm at my strongest. So back to what I was saying. Another problem that overthinkers have is they struggle to let go. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know. I need some love in the chat, because I just can only hear I got a 3 there. Yeah? Overthinkers have problems with letting go, and I get it. I overthought the guy that I thought was really wonderful. I thought I'd met the one. He was just another bum. I ain't even gonna lie. It's the reality of the situation. And I struggled because I said to myself that I wanted closure, right? So when I told myself I wanted closure, what did that mean? I left it open. I didn't let go. And what did I do to myself? I left myself hanging, waiting for someone who didn't have the courage to answer my calls. Who did it to me? Now, this is another thing that happens. Another thing that brings people here, right, is then you're going to get angry and you're going to get vexed with that person. How could they do that to me? Well, how could you do that to yourself? Do you actually need closure? Or is that a myth? Is that a story you've told yourself? How much closure do you need if someone's blocked you, robbed you, said they would do XYZ for you, and they didn't do it for you? What more closure do you want? Some people lie. They're brilliant at it. They're never going to tell you the truth. But 5 years on, 4 years on, you haven't deleted or blocked anyone from your phone because you're sitting there hoping at some level they'll be decent with you. You do it to yourself. I know I'm speaking to somebody out here. You don't need closure. You need to close the door. I do a beautiful video on that, actually. It's one of my faves. You learn to close the door, because leaving it ajar is bad for your health. If you know what I'm talking about, give me a heart or a like, some form of engagement out there, because often the reality is of what I've been doing therapy for when did I qualify? I qualified in 2012. Volunteered since 2008 as a therapist. So let's say overall, this has been what? Oh God, am I coming up to 22? That's a lot of years. Maybe let's say coming up to 14 years doing this. These are the themes that constantly come up time and time again. And as I prepare to do my doctorate, to synthesize the knowledge, I am passionate about bringing you the key themes. Overthinkers don't like to let go. That is your ego. Ego is a part of my empath self-protection course. And empaths, highly sensitive people who regard them as being good people, and we often are, we don't really check how much of an ego we have. We have an ego, and it's why you don't want to let go. It's why you hold on to stuff from the past that no longer serves you. You create the closure that you need for yourself. You learn to block people. You learn to unfollow people. Because when you leave the door ajar for people, it's no wonder you end up back in the same situations we said we did not want to be in. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? And my people, you say book. This is my lived life. I then use the books to further understand what I'm talking about. Got a few comments here. When I'm ready to let go, I can let go. If I'm not, it's a gray area that's not needed, but I really closed a door instead of leaving it ajar. I planned and I feel so much better for it. That's beautiful to hear. Well done to you. But sometimes I realize I tell myself stories. We look at the stories you tell yourself on my Pain into Purpose course. We also look at the stories you tell yourself on the Empath Self-Protection course, which comes up in July. You tell yourself a story. Sometimes, especially if there's someone I really liked and I've been rejected by them, but I can catch that they're looking at my stories or they're looking at my updates on WhatsApp, I block for my own sanity. That's called self-care, yeah? Self-care is not getting your nails done, ladies, or your eyebrows groomed, yeah? Self-care, and I write about that in my book, Why Love Hurts is all about you looking after you. Yeah. You think self-care is about going prep and indulging in the 6-pound chicken sandwich. Couldn't believe it. I was in prep today. I picked up a bit of breakfast and lunch. The people told me it was £18. I said, what is this, a sit-down meal? £18 in prep for a little bit of lunch and breakfast. I said, you know what? I'll take that sandwich, but you can keep the rest. I just felt it was a little bit exorbitant. So where was I? Somebody remind me where I was. Apparently Costa is now £4. Well, yeah, it is getting a little bit out of hand. Well, yeah, well, it is what it is. But what was I was saying is that we need to audit our phones. Many of us do not want to archive conversations. Many of us have still got pictures of situations that were not helpful to us. And then you wonder why you sit there overthinking. Am I wrong? Got a question here. I have trouble letting go. Exactly what you said. Waiting for something I didn't want. Most definitely. Don't worry, sister. I have trouble letting go too. But I'm wise enough to know that if I hold on, I do myself damage. So what I do is I defy myself. Aha. You know, people think, like, oh, Key, you've got it all sussed. I don't believe I've got it sussed. I just know that if I am harming myself, self-harming myself, if I, for example, allow someone who's rejected me, who only wants a one-dimensional hookup, bang, bang relationship, and I want commitment, and I still allow that person access, who am I harming? If I find that I'm overthinking about them late at night, hoping and wishing that they would be what I want them to be, then what do I need to do to best protect my energy? In the words of Public Enemy, we shut it down. I shut it down. Now, people can call me, oh, you're petty. Key, I've had somebody tell me this. Oh, you're so petty. You should be bigger than that, Key. Like, you should, come on, Key. You're a psychotherapist. You should be bigger than that. I'm not here to debate the choices I make for my well-being. I am unapologetic about my well-being. And my encouragement is that you learn to do the same about your well-being. And I could tell you why you need to be unapologetic about your well-being. Because if you look at people at the far end of the mental health spectrum, where they've lost contact with reality, where voices have now come over them and they're at the doctors, people are being sectioned. This is why it's fundamental to us that we look after our well-being. You use your block. Let people call you whatever they want to call you. It is none of your business. Your business is to best protect yourself. Am I lying? Am I lying? Oh, I wish this was real life in the real flesh. Get me going tonight. You know I'm not lying. Thank you, Curtie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know I'm not lying. Never forget people at the far, and that I never forget that. I've seen it. I witness it time and time again. And my heart cries. It's one of the reasons I do this, because I don't want people at the far end of the spectrum. When you get to the far end of the spectrum, the choices are few. Choices are few. And when you get caught in the system, it's a very different kettle of fish. The challenge is you have to learn to be assertive. Class also matters in terms of how you communicate with the professionals. And it's not that I don't believe in it. I do believe that there is help, there is passionate, but you have to be able to have a support team around you. And for many of us, especially from especially from where I'm from, Council Estate in Northwest London, we don't have that type of support, and we are overrepresented in prisons and mental health institutes. So this is why I'm so serious about, and another topic that gets my goat going is we have to be mindful about who we fall in love with. Let's be very frank, because that sets a precedence for our lives. It sets a precedence for our lives, because when we fall in love with people, we become vulnerable to people. And one of the biggest factors that contributes to overthinking is our intimate relationships. Am I lying? Am I lying? You know I ain't lying. You know, Bav knows I ain't lying. I ain't lying. I ain't lying. Them mofos can have us thinking and for days. You can be driving and think like, why would he do that? 2 blue ticks. He's online. He's just posted on Instagram, yet he don't answer back. You're going like a lunatic. They're making you crazy. You're damn right they're making you crazy. And we've all got a bit of cray-cray in all of us. That's why we block. We don't want that side of us coming out, do we, Dawn? We're doing it nicely, ain't we, Bav? We do it nicely. So we block to best protect ourselves. And some of them are like rats as well. You block them on the phone. Next thing, they've never sent you an email in your life. You get an email. Anyone know what I'm talking about? You know, the ones that you wanted them, you chased them. And then when you decide you've done your little reading with Key, you read Why Love Hurts, and you decide to block them, all of a sudden the rat comes through another entry. You're like, look at you though, huh? Let me tell you what happens, ladies. Some of them, they don't want you, but they don't want no one else to have you. Chic of it. We block that. We block that. We block that for our own sanity. Have I got a message here? I got another message here. Toxic, absolutely. Let me make sure I haven't missed one. This chat is not as nice as the one on Teams, is it? I like Teams. Just noticing a few years ago, I went through my friends list, deleted anybody somebody I hadn't spoken to in the last 6 months, or somebody I'd happily chat to if I bumped into them face to face. It was so refreshing. Oh, absolutely. A good phone audit. And one of the reasons why I talk about the phone audit in my book is because why? Why? Because it kept coming up in the therapy room. The 2 blue ticks was driving people insane. WhatsApp is literally driving people insane. You know, you also have to look at another solution for you. What are the situations that make you overthink, my people? Isolate the situations. I tell my clients all the time, I'm feeling anxious. Okay, specifically about what? Let's get into the specifics. Now let's be having it. If your family WhatsApp group is just a replication of the trauma and the insults that your family dish out to you in the flesh, do you need to stay in the family WhatsApp group? If you know what I'm talking about, say, I'm gonna leave. Is it time for you to leave that family WhatsApp group? Is there some toxic rubbish that's always going on in there? Are you always being sidelined or ignored? Was that a normal experience for you growing up? Is it being replicated? Are you stressed out by your WhatsApp family group? If it stresses you out, if it ain't great for your greatness, cut it out. I refuse to be in a family WhatsApp group. Hallelujah. Yeah, you have the right. So many of us put it on bloody mute. You are entitled to leave. Oh, did you not respond to that? No. That's what happens, isn't it? Then you have to over-explain yourself because there's always someone in there who gets the arse, don't they? They get a bit upset. Did you not see my post? You're like, oh, for God's sake. What do you think I do? Just sit there looking at it day in, day out. You know what I'm saying? We have to take responsibility. So like I was saying, learn to isolate the situations that stress, that cause you to overthink. Get specific. What is it? What happened? If you find yourself overthinking something, start to isolate it. What is it? What did they say? Even if you find, oh, it was Jill. Then you've got to think about, well, what did Jill do? What was it specifically that got under your skin? Pay attention to that. Any further questions, please put them in the WhatsApp group so I know I am far from alone. In addition, another aspect of what happens with my peeps who tend to overthink is they live in their head. So they live in their head. What we call it therapeutically, we say they're very cerebral. And so when I have a client who's speaking to me from the head, what I'll often ask them to do is to use emojis. So that also gets us into our feelings for people who are very heady. Yeah. living in here, living in here, living in here. This is one of the reasons why talk therapy is so helpful, because it helps someone to come out of their head. They now have to put what's going on in here into words. Yeah. Now you have to help me to understand your inner world by putting your world into a sentence. Often what happens to people when they begin to speak about what they overthink about, they begin to hear that, wow, there's some lunacy going on in my head. Or they feel embarrassed about what was going in their head, or shamed, or stop mid-flow in the sentence, because as they begin to articulate what is going on here, they're like, oh my days, wow. I've never, what do they say, Key? I've never said this to anyone before. Yeah. And this is why, for example, if you're not in a position to afford one-to-one therapy, I get it. I would encourage you to invest in my courses though, because they're pretty brilliant. I am biased, naturally. But this is the benefit of journaling. Yeah. This is the benefit of beginning to write out what the hell it is that you begin to say to you. For many of us, we feel inadequate. I can make generalities about this. My experience is empowering me to say this. Many of us do not feel good enough. And your overthinking contributes to that. 100%. Journaling is so insightful. I'm reading it back later. Is so helpful too. Absolutely. Yeah. If you're not in a position, journal. Get what it is that you say to yourself out of your head. You will begin to see that you say things that you would that are even real. Like, wow. When you really follow it through, you realize it's lunacy, and that's fine. Because all it is just what you say up here to yourself. So pay attention. One thing, in addition, for many of people who are often overthinkers, which then impacts on anxiety, right? I know that much. Anxiety, what is it caused by? Living in your head. What do? How can you get into your body more? Get into the groove, boy, you got to prove. You got to get into your body. Now, if you know me or you ever seen me, I'm the first on the dance floor. I don't care if everybody's standing around the side warming up. I come to get me 10,000 steps by hook or by the crook. I like the vibrate. It's about the only action a mouthy girl like me gets around here, but that's another story. Get into your body. How can you dance more, move more, roller skate? It's hard to overthink when you're trying to be balanced so you don't fall. Give me examples of what you can begin to do to get outside of your head. The body is important. Remember, for so many of us, we live up here, especially, the ways that the schools teach us, it kind of just functions from this heady place. The gym is the best. Do you know how much relief the gym gives to people in terms of their own mental wellness? I do a crossword or read, beautiful. Action is fundamental to help you get out of your head. Allotment, beautiful. Nature, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. Nature is such a beautiful way to consider your own well-being. Plants, what grows? Hey, what can you learn from nature to assist you? You need to learn to get into your body more. And I tell you one thing, if you, for example, decide to go and do an activity that gets you into your body, it helps you also it can, depending on how your mind's made, help you to get clarity. Yoga, though I'm resisting it at the moment. Sister, why do we do this? Why do we do this? We all know. Tell me how many of you out here, Claire, we're going to go for the poll, pay for these things, but we don't do them. Who's got the gym membership, eh? Who's bought the matching outfits from Primark, Marks and Spencer's? I even bought the leg warmers. I was going all out. I'm like, I'm a matching here. You never know, I might find the man of my dreams. Probably my nightmares, but that's another story. I'll take that to my therapist. Yeah, but we don't do them. Why? Huh? I'll tell you why. Because of this. Hmm? 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 That's about as much actions as we're doing, isn't it? Stuck on this or Netflix binging whilst we binge eat. Hmm? Who needs to take certain apps off their phone? Maybe that's why we don't get down to the yoga, huh? When I say phone audit, some of us need an app audit as well. Anybody interested in looking at their finance, please talk to Patricia. Patricia from Debt Talk. Yeah. So for many of us, we get stuck in situations, we say yes. And let's be honest, we can also look at how our relationships with finance also is impacted in our overthinking, right? For some of us, we're making these impulse purchases. If you're in a little bit of financial debt, first thing I'll say to any of my clients, what shopping apps do you have on your phone? Like, oh, Key, well, you know what? I got this one and I got that one. Well, maybe you need to uninstall, sister. We can't just be Uber eating all the time. Nothing wrong with a pot noodle. Did me no harm. Chicken and mushrooms, my favorite. Watch the corn though, it's a little bit dusty, if you know what I'm talking about, to all my pot noodle massive. Here we go. I feel attacked with the shopping, personally attacked with the shopping habits. Like I said, Patricia, please put a link to your website in the chat here, because Patricia helps people to understand is financial literacy, and we actually work very closely together to assist others, to assist my clients who are also, challenged financially. That's another thing that would get you overthinking, right? Your situations, your financial situations. For some of us, we keep saying yes. Some of us are financing other people, right? And that also has an impact. This is just another way for us to think about the choices that we make. Listen, I know more so now that if I'm overthinking things, something's not right. Something's sitting on my spirit. If you take it from a spiritual level, something is not right. Sometimes the fact that I'm overthinking in itself symbolic of a problem. That in itself, if the fact that I'm overthinking, that in itself is the problem. I don't worry about what I'm overthinking about, but for say if there's some young person, some individual who wants to win my affections, but for whatever reason, I find certain behaviors are odd. Is it me, or is it very challenging dating in these millennial times? Jesus, can't they pick up their phone and call? I remember saying to one dude who perpetually texted me, I was like, do you think we could have a conversation tomorrow? Never heard from him again. You would have thought I asked for his hand in marriage. That made me overthink. I was quite offended by that, considering he wasn't pretty handsome as well. It's nothing worse when you start to lower your standards and then they're getting cocky. Here we go. Where are we? I do many of these things to stop me thinking. Could be as simple as having a cup of tea. Most definitely. I feel personally sacrificed. www.debt talk. Lovely too. You scared him off. I scare them all off. And what do they say? They say that people are scared of strong women. What I find is I don't think I intimidate men who have got themselves in check. If people don't have themselves in check, what happens is they project their stuff onto me, and we need to be careful of that. My people, if you've signed up for this course, I can make a certain amount of predictions about you. It's highly likely you're highly empathic, and it's highly likely you're a highly sensitive soul. You feel things. Things hurt you. Do not abandon your feelings. You are sensitive for a reason. Yeah. I've discovered why I'm sensitive, because this is my calling. This is my gift. This is the purpose that I have on earth. One of the key ingredients to dealing with mental health challenges is finding purpose. But for many of us, we throw our purpose often into relationships, often into other people, and that is one of the reasons we become sad and depressed. Your sadness and your depression is a communication to you, from you, that you are out of balance in your life, and you need to make uncomfortable choices in order to have a different a better tomorrow. How do I know? It's how I got off the IKEA's checkout tills, where I'd say, excuse me, can you leave the yellow bag behind, please? You need to buy a blue one. It's how I got out of IKEA. It's how I got off my estate. And it's how I've made something out of my situation. If you know what I'm talking about, if you want to make lemonade out of lemon, if you want to turn adversity to your advantage, if you want to go from being a victim to victorious, oh, I can feel the goosebumps. Let your girl Key know, give me a heart, give me a like, give me some form of engagement. Mindful, we are in the last 15 minutes. Like I said, my people, I don't do structured masterminds. I literally just flow from the dome. Stop people pleasing. Well, people pleasing. People pleasing is about displeasing yourself, and people pleasing, again, another massive one that continuously comes up in the therapy room. Yeah. People pleasing, putting others first. But what often happens is resentment builds. Yeah. Bitterness builds. Let me tell you something. Empathic, highly sensitive people, you are my crew. I could tell you this about you. If the resentment builds and bitterness takes over, that's dangerous for you. Pay attention. Once the resentment builds, be careful. If that flips into bitterness, you ain't going to be the nice person to be around, because bitterness seeps out. We all know a bit of Betty, don't we? Still talking about what happened to her in 1995 and still ain't got over it. We're tired of this. Betty, can't you get over it by now, Betty? Send Bet to Key. I'll sort her out. Why do you guys journal? Happy thoughts, practical worries, or I'm not too sure how or what you did during the day. Henna, if you're interested in journaling, I can recommend a structured journal to help you go in. You can frame your journals. One way to frame a journal is like gratitude journaling, which might mean that you identify 3 things to be. That's quite a simple way. But if you're interested in a more structured way, there is also a way to do that, and I can put that in the email that follows after. Religious talks make me overthink. Okay, let me know in what sense they make you overthink, Curtie. If anybody here would like to go live, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me. But one of the reasons, like I said to you before, I'm passionate about helping people to understand how we get into these situations. There's no 2 ways about it. There is a mental health epidemic out there. So many people are becoming sad and depressed, and they're confused why. The guilt I carry as a practitioner, as a self-motivated, employed psychotherapist who regards what I do as a calling, is I am now beginning to feel guilty that I'm helping people individually, when it's so clear to me that this is not a you problem, this is a bigger problem. Politically, I also do have the concern that actually it benefits the government that people internalize their distress so that they don't look outwards. Imposter syndrome is a perfect example of that. We feel inadequate, imposter syndrome, we feel like an imposter, really. Or is it that you're in situations that you feel inadequate because you might not be from the right class groups? So you don't know how to interact. You don't know the nuance in those situations. Yeah. So psychology has a tendency to make if I'm not careful, we can end up blaming ourselves. But what sometimes it might mean, and that's why the themes are important, that actually this is bigger, that it's not just you. This is why I want to reach more people, to help people understand what we do that causes our mental health to deteriorate. And one of the ways that I do that is through my courses. And over time, my ambition is to move into courses and reduce my one-to-one work, because I'm just passionate about helping more people. And if you've done any of my courses, you'll know that actually what happens over time is people within the group begin to help each other. And that is just wonderful for me to witness. Because what I witness in therapy is people truly believe they are alone in their pain, that it's only them. And I hope that they come to, my hope is that people realize you are so not alone. The things that you think about are really not bizarre, and it's okay, because what one-to-one therapy helps people to understand is how we get to where we get to. So you stop blaming yourself. My ambition is to help people to develop compassion for themselves. Compassion for themselves. We've got another question here. I wonder what I was going to find. Okay, people are wondering what you journal about. Like I said, you can go for structured journals. It's just a space. Like I said, if you find yourself overthinking, and there's no two ways about it. Sometimes overthinking is deliberate, and it's good that you overthink, because some situations you need to overthink about. Some people are difficult. Some situations, especially if things don't feel right for you. Empathic people, highly sensitive souls. I talk about this in the course, the Empath Self-Protection course, which is hot off the press. I'm encouraging you to invest in you. So many of us don't stop. We have no problem investing in other people. Yet when it comes to us, you have a problem. You have a story. There's always a story. There's always a story. But when it comes to going above and beyond for others, what we need to prove our worth. So you say yes, right? My imposter syndrome is so bad, I think the imposters are imposters. That's really interesting about that one. But I can't remember where I was. I've totally lost my thread. Somebody remind me where I was. Highly empathic people, overthinkers are also out of sync with the gut. Your emotional brain lives in the gut. Your intuition. If you're anything like me, when I was being used and abused, my spirit, I knew something was wrong. But did I trust my instincts? Nope. So what did I do? I became Inspector Clouseau, following people and waiting outside people's houses to get evidence. Why did I need to get evidence, my people? Because I didn't trust my instincts. At 43 years old, I am so in sync with my instincts, it's unbelievable. I can know without knowing. I trust that part of myself. My encouragement to you is, can you trust your instincts? When you overthink things, you jolt out of your instincts. Many of us are missing out on the wisdom within you. There is a wisdom within you that you need to embrace. And we talk about that. I help you to look at your relationship with your instincts on the Empath Self-Protection course. I fundamentally believe one of the reasons why so many people are sad, stressed out, and depressed is because they do not know how to look after themselves. You don't know how to protect yourselves. And if you don't know how to protect yourself, listen, what will happen? If you don't know how to protect yourself, firstly, if you don't see yourself as someone of worth and value, what will happen? What would happen if you left the door open to your house, if you didn't protect your home? I worked at Wormwood Scrubs for 8 years. I can tell you, no shadow of a doubt, you'll get robbed. Yeah? Why don't you protect yourself? I could tell you why most people don't protect themselves. Often we give that responsibility over to others. Sometimes we believe if we love and we go above and beyond and we endeavor to prove ourselves to others, that will come back at us. So we give that responsibility away. Never good, never great. One of the reasons why relationship breakups can be so devastating for people, because we put all the eggs in the one basket. Don't do it to yourself, my people. I don't care how great he is. I don't care how boom the sex is all night long, saying strong and all of that jazz. Be mindful. My encouragement to you is you need to learn to protect yourself. This is why I create the Empath Self-Protection course. Why do I create it? Because it comes from the people. It comes from the situations that continuously show up time and time and time again. For many of us, we are practicing self-harm when we continuously allow people around us who violate us, who belittle us. When you don't invest in yourself and say yes to yourself, you are self-harming. Now, if anything that I have spoken to you has rattled you or made you think, or you're contemplating on doing the Empath Self-Protection course, please feel free, sign up. We've got the comment in the link, but also remember, if you've got any question or you've got a situation you're going through right now, from 9 o'clock, I will be taking, my assistant will post the link, and you can have a 15-minute session with me. If there's anything you need clarity about, or if I've touched on something, feel free to sign up for a one-to-one call. That will be going on from 9 o'clock, because I have to refresh myself and powder my nose. You know what I'm saying? But if you have any questions, feel free. Claire, my assistant, has put that link. If you want to sign up for a 15-minute call, any questions you have about the course, please let me know. Because like I said, I'm passionate about helping more and more people to understand the severity of the situation you're in. And I can tell you quite blankly, you can go to your doctors all day long. For all the people on the IAPT courses and the CBT courses, or you're waiting for the government, the NHS, you're waiting for them to come back to you, I fully respect that. And I also know that you're not going to get the fullness of what I'm bringing to you, because I am passionate about helping people holistically. Yeah. Remember, when we go to the NHS, what happens is they look at you from the medical model. It's a specific model, which is about locating whatever the problem is in the physical. It's one of the reasons you get tablets. Yeah. That's why they give their tablets. The challenge, the reality is, humans are not just one-dimensional. You're spiritual, physical, the biopsychosocial model is a more wholesome model for you to help understand your situation. And for whatever reason, that isn't available for people to get the support that they need. We need to understand what it is that you do that compromises you, that enables people to constantly leech from you. If you find yourself overthinking situations, there is a high probability that something is up and something isn't right. Pay attention. One of the biggest solutions to overthinking is to take action. However, like I said at the beginning, if your relationship with fear is so strong, then fear will evoke the overthinkingness. And you may end up living a life of regret, where you beat up on yourself with the shoulda, woulda, coulda. All of those are judgment statements. Shoulda done this, shoulda done that, coulda did this. Then your life is robbed, because you are now living in the past, which robs you of the now. Living in the now is all you have. We could all be knocked over by that red bus today. Now is all you have. What tiny action can you take to assist yourself? If one of the actions that you can take is to sign up for a 15-minute call with myself, take the action now. It's your time to do you. Otherwise, other people will keep riding you like a donkey. And I don't know about you, but I ain't Eeyore. And on that note, I thank you all for your contributions. I hope this video has been of benefit to you. I hope, if nothing, it has made you think. My hope for you would be that you take action to best protect yourself. For many of us, empathic, highly sensitive souls, we have so much love to give. Often we give it in the wrong places, to the wrong people, and then we go on campaign, make them love us, make them care for us, when we know that that has not what been the past has shown us. For many of us, and we talk about this on the Pain into Purpose course, and that also infiltrates into the Empath Self-Protection course, acceptance will free you. Learn to accept situations as they are. How can you plow that energy into your own dreams and ambitions? Another thing that comes up, we don't plow our interest into our own dreams and our ambitions. How can you use that overthinkingness to create the dreams, the aspirations for your life, so you find purpose? You see, how can you find that for you? It's your duty. It's your responsibility. This is your life. And you only get, well, as far as I know, you only get one ride. Well, depends on what you think about the afterlife and so on. But how can you make the best of the life that you have right here, right now. And I tell you this for something. If a girl like me, who got no GCSEs, who left school with some advice, which was don't come back, can get up and get off of IKEA's checkout from St. Ralph's Estate and own my own home and be a business owner, get a degree and a master's. If I can do it, you can too. And you have to find your unique path so you can live an empowered, good life. You don't want a happy life. Happiness is only momentary. We want to live a good life. I believe I am living a good life, and I am passionate about helping others to do the same. I wish you all the best. Good night. As ever, it has been an absolute honor. And if you'd like to talk with me, click the link and we can talk in the next half an hour or so. Take care of you, because if you don't, no one is coming to save you. You must learn to save yourself. Boom.